Well, in their search for the Upsidasium mine, our heroes have finally got to Mount Flatten, the world's only floating mountain. But Bullwinkle, who unearthed a large boulder of the anti-gravity metal, soon found himself falling upward at remarkable speed.
I always expected to go to heaven, but not so soon.
Drop it, Bullwinkle!
I can't, Rocky. I'm too high up.
It was true. Bullwinkle shot higher and higher, and truly he was in a dilemma.
Yeah, I dasn't hold on and I dasn't let go.
Then the brainy squirrel got an idea.
If you still have your pick with you, just break some pieces off the rock.
And Bullwinkle did just that. And with each piece he chipped off, his upward speed slowed and slowed until finally he actually began to move downward again.
Don't chip any more, Bullwinkle. That's just right. Boy, keeping that stuff is going to be harder than getting it.
You know, I have the same trouble with money.
Meanwhile, far below them, those two sneaky characters, Boris and Natasha, still disguised as miners, were now hatching still another plot to steal Mount Flatten and spirit it away to Pennsylvania.
You're sure this will work, Boris?
How could it don't work? Was invented by Uncle Wanya himself.
Uncle Wanya?
That grand old mean of crime.
You mean grand old man of crime.
I said mean, I mean. Look here.
And Boris showed Natasha one of his rarest treasures, an autographed copy of Uncle Vanya's collected recipes for robbers, the Fireside Crook Book.
See right here, he tells how to steal mountain.
Take fan A, up in balloon B, turn it on mountain C.
Then wind blows mountain where you want it. Clever.
You sure Uncle Wanya did it?
Of course, it says right here. This plan is absolutely sure. Come.
And the two villains followed the instructions to the letter.
Okay. Turn on fan, Natasha.
Sure enough, the huge fan blade spun at frightening speed, sending out a whirlwind of air. But unfortunately, the balloon was lighter than the mountain, and so...
Boris! Fan is blowing us away!
Turn it off, Natasha. Off!
I can't, darling! Switch is stuck!
Oh, boy!
And the balloon continued to dart madly about the sky.
Hey, Bullwinkle, isn't that Mojave Max and Death Valley Dottie?
Yeah.
That's a mighty strange-looking balloon they're in.
First time I ever seen one with an outboard motor.
I thought this plan was absolutely sure.
Says right here, absolutely sure.
Turn page, darling.
To fail miserably. Well, that's one on you, Natasha.
And here's one on you, darling.
But Natasha's fun was interrupted when a voice crackled from their radio.
Come in, Boris Bedinov, whoever you are.
He's central control.
Bad enough here, the schnook you love to hate. Available for wars, feuds, and all kinds dirty deals. Go ahead.
Bedinov, Mount Flatten is too big for you to handle.
Too big?
Someone is coming to take over.
Take over?
Stop repeating everything I say.
Everything good. Yes, fearless leader. Just who is coming to take over?
Who else? Mr. Big.
Mr. Big?
That is all. Over and out, Bedinov.
He certainly is, darling.
And at that very moment, a jet-black jet is roaring toward Mount Flatten. Its passenger, Mr. Big. Be with us next time for Boris Bites Back, or A Rebel Without a Pause.
Once upon a time, there was a little kingdom named the Kingdom of Fig, in which there was a castle, in which there was a throne room, in which there was a king named Newton.
I thought you'd never get here.
This particular day, the king was busy planning 1 week's dinner menu with the castle cook.
How about a nice cirrhosis beef, your highness?
Had that last Sunday.
I fix a nice suckling a pig with an apple in his mouth.
No, I like suckling pig, but suckling pig doesn't like me.
How about a chili beans and a chocolate malt?
Well, you're getting warmer, but no. How about a roast chicken?
Sorry, we don't got a chicken in the palace.
Roast turkey?
No turkeys in the palace.
Roast goose?
No goose. We only got the one.
Well, let's have it.
But, your highness, she's a kind of a palace pet. 1,000,000 laughs.
Stuff and nonsense. If she laid golden eggs or something, it'd be different. But she looks to me just like an eating-type goose. Pop her in the oven.
Okay, Highness. I make preparations right away. Hey, Monroe!
Well, of course, the goose was terrified, so she did the only thing she could think of. She ran. But just before she reached the castle gate, she stopped and thought of what lay beyond it.
4,000 hungry peasants. I can't go out there.
But just then, the words of the king came back to her.
If she laid golden eggs, it'd be different. If she laid golden eggs...
Golden eggs, of course. A moment later, the goose dashed into the kitchen, got a regular egg, and quickly painted it gold. That evening at dinner, when the main course was brought in, the king got quite a surprise.
Aye, Highness. That's a good one, eh?
Good heavens! Cook!
Yes, Your Majesty.
This goose is terribly underdone. Put her back in the oven.
Hold it, sire. Take a look at this.
It looks like a golden egg.
Looks like. Here, take a closer peek at it.
14 carat.
She's done it, Your Highness. You got a goose that lays golden eggs.
Well, upon my word.
Yes, the trick had worked like a charm. News of the king's good fortune spread like wildfire.
Extra! Local goose lays golden egg. King Newton of Fig hits jackpot.
Matter of fact, the news spread a little too far as it reached the eyes of the king's cousin, Duke Porkington of Hogg.
A thing like this is too big for Newton to handle. It must worry him terribly. I'll just relieve him of the responsibility. To arms!
And the greedy duke marched on his cousin's castle to take the wonderful goose by force. When King Newton heard about it, he spoke those deathless words by which we remember him even today.
Don't give up the goose.
Yay!
But Duke Porkington was determined. Day after day, he blasted at the castle.
You know, Your Grace, you may kill the goose that lays the golden eggs.
If I can't have it, nobody can, see?
But by then, King Newton's castle was shot away.
Why aren't we shooting back?
We are the cannonballs, Your Majesty. All we can do now is sit and take it.
Golden eggs. I wish I'd never heard of golden eggs.
Me too.
In fact, I'm going to get rid of this one right now.
No, sire, don't throw it! Some joke, eh, Majesty? Even fooled you, eh? Funny. Shall I go get in the oven, sire?
But instead of being angry, the king jumped with joy.
You're a fraud! A phony! You can't do it!
Well, I was just...
Well, I can tell Porkington that I don't have anything he wants. He'll go away.
But just then, a very strange thing happened.
Sire, may I have some pickles and ice cream?
Of course, I'll go... Pickles and ice cream?
Or maybe a little sauerkraut topped with strawberries?
Are you feeling all right?
Just a little faint.
What is it?
Nothing. I'm just going to lay an egg, that's all. Ooh.
And she did. But what an egg it was.
It's so shiny. It looks like solid gold.
And it was solid gold.
Well, that drops a clod in the churn. Now I can never call off Porkington.
But, sire, now we don't have to.
What do you mean?
I have a plan.
And a moment later, as Duke Porkington prepared to storm the castle, a shot rang out and a strange cannonball landed at his feet.
Look, Your Grace, it's solid gold.
Gold cannonballs!
Boy!
Here comes another one. Catch it!
Well, of course, when the soldiers tried to catch the golden cannonballs, they were mowed down in rows. And in a little while, Duke Porkington stood alone on the battlefield.
Are you going on with the battle?
No, Newton. Just picking up souvenirs.
So the King Newton and the goose lived happily ever after and whiled away the time playing games together.
I'll bet 5.
I'll just see that, Majesty, and raise you 10.
Private Bullwinkle, sir, with a message.
Just in time.
Is it important?
Is it? Just look. And here he is, that master of misinformation, Mr. Know-It-All.
Hi-ho, culture fans. Today's little lecture is entitled How to Be a Barber, or 10 Ways to Clip Your Fellow Man. The successful barber needs the following essential items. First, a red and white striped barber pole.
Bullwinkle, that pole is black and white and checkered.
Maybe that's why business has been so bad. The second necessity is the pair of scissors, which must be sharp as a razor.
Sharp as a razor, Bullwinkle.
An electric razor. It won't cut paper either. Last and, of course, most important, a customer. Do I see a volunteer?
Sorry, I'm late for engagement to Bomb Playground.
How about you, Captain Peach Fuzz?
I'd like to, Bullwinkle, but I've got to go get a haircut.
Some other time. Well, old buddy boy, that seems to narrow it down to you.
Yeah, well, maybe just a trim, okay?
Sure. You want a type A trim or a type B trim?
Well, what's a type A trim?
That's the kind Yul Brynner got.
Yul Brynner? Well, who got type B?
Here he is. General Custer.
I think I'll be a long hair instead, but I'll give you a little tip, Bullwinkle.
Well, that's mighty nice of you.
Get into some other business, quick.
Sure, but, what about the tip?
That was it. And thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
You're welcome. Ooh.
Hello out there. Peabody and Sherman here.
I oiled the Wayback Machine like you told me, Mr. Peabody.
And just in time, Sherman, because we have a date with one of America's greatest patriots.
Ponsonby Britt?
No, Sherman. This patriot made a historic ride on the night of April 18th, 1775, and the man in question, Paul Revere. Without any further ado, the Wayback Machine teleported us back to Paul Revere's copper shop. Inside, we found not Mr. Revere, but rather Mrs.
Can I help you?
Why, yes, madam. We should like to speak to your husband.
So would I. He hasn't been inside the shop for 3 days. All he does is sit on that horse and back, waiting for the British to come.
We wasted no time in joining the eager coppersmith.
Don't stand too close, boys. Soon as I see the lanterns, I'm off to warn Lexington.
But, Mr. Revere, your horse...
No time for idle conversation, lad. I've got some writing to do.
But you don't understand.
One if by land, two if by sea, one if by land.
Mr. Revere, I feel it only fair to warn you that unless you change horses, you won't be riding anywhere.
What are you talking about?
You are sitting on a statue.
Say, how about that? I was wondering why he didn't eat much hay.
Mr. Peabody, there's a light in the tower.
Sure enough, Sherman had spotted the signal.
How many lanterns, boy? 1 or 2?
3.
They must be coming both by land and by sea.
Step back. I gotta warn the country. Giddy up, boy. Giddy up.
Mr. Revere, the statue, remember?
Oh, yes. Sure was a quiet horse, though.
I sent Sherman to search the town for another horse.
This hog was the only animal I could find, Mr. Peabody.
Well, you can't expect me to ride that, can you?
You have no alternative.
Why don't I try to start the statue? You never know. It may run.
And with that, Paul Revere begged, pleaded, even tried to bribe his favorite horse.
Yes, ain't no use. I guess the hog'll have to do.
Unfortunately, the hog was as contrary as the statue.
Golly, Mr. Peabody, he won't budge.
And I gotta get to Lexington to warn the people.
Now, what would cause a hog to run? I have it. Mr. Revere, the magic words are hog fat.
Hog fat?
Look at him go!
Yes. No hog wants to be turned into hog fat.
Well, I guess we can go home now that Mr. Revere's on his way.
I'm afraid not, Sherman. You see, Paul Revere just went north. Lexington is south. Well, by now, there were 5 lanterns in the tower, so the situation, as you could see, was desperate. Sherman and I headed for Lexington as fast as we could. And speaking of Lexington, a certain American general, who shall be nameless, was in town spearheading an enlistment drive.
I tell you, we need soldiers.
And Lexington is proud to do its part, General.
Proud? You mean you're proud of one old man and 2 dogs? The dogs we can use. But the old man...
Forgive the intrusion, gentlemen, but we're here to tell you the British are coming.
Oh, did you see them?
No, but we saw the lanterns.
Well, then you mean the lanterns are coming, not the British.
We mean the British are coming.
Oh, I'm sorry, but the only way I'll believe that is when Paul Revere tells me. Now, about those 2 dogs...
But Paul Revere may not get here until it's too late, Mr. Peabody.
He may never get here, Sherman. I have it. Pardon me, General, but I understand you need soldiers.
I sure do.
Well, I don't know whether you're familiar with New England customs, but up here, the only way to get soldiers is to issue the Boston Back Bay battle cry.
I don't think I know it.
Oh, it's quite simple, sir. You merely shout the word Suey.
Suey?
Suey. Well, 1 minute later, the hills surrounding Lexington were reverberating with that famous old hog call.
Suey! 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 Suey!
Inside of a quarter of an hour, every hog in the vicinity was thundering down Lexington's main street, and among them was our hog-fat hog, carrying Paul Revere.
The British are coming! The British and the hogs are coming!
Golly, Mr. Peabody, what a brilliant idea.
Yes, wasn't it?
That battle cry was an inspiration. So far, we've signed up 420 men. Oh, I tell you, it was unbelievable. I gave that yell in exactly 60 seconds. We had a line.
Would you call them 60-second men, Mr. Peabody?
Of course not, Chairman. I'd call them Minutemen.
If you think you have troubles, just listen to this. Rocky and Bullwinkle have discovered a rich lode of upsidasium on Mount Flatten, but because upsidasium falls up, they can't hang on to any of it. Besides that, Boris and Natasha are still going through the rogues' recipes and the Fireside Crookbook to discover a way to steal the whole floating mountain. And besides that, a deadly black jet is streaking their way bearing the sinister figure of Boris's boss, Mr. Big. And besides that...
the episode is half over already.
We gotta figure out how to hold on to our upsidasium, Bullwinkle.
Yeah, I know everything's going up these days, but this is just silly.
We need somebody who knows all there is to know about mining.
Hey, what about asking Mojave Max?
Good idea, Bullwinkle.
And our trusting heroes started off to find Mojave Max, who in reality was their worst enemy, Boris Badenov.
Well, how ye be, partner? You find mine yet?
Yep, and we need your help with it, Mr. Mac.
What's the trouble?
Well, this upsidasium stuff falls up.
So?
So what do we keep it in?
That is problem. Let's take squint on mine.
And our heroes led Boris and Natasha right to their upsidasium mine.
This is main shaft?
That's right.
Then problem is simple.
It is?
Sure. You go to bottom of shaft and soon all your troubles will be over.
Great.
And our heroes began letting themselves down the mine elevator.
That Mojave Mac seems like a good sort.
Yeah. A good sort of what?
If Bullwinkle had only been at the top of the shaft, he would have known what.
Boris, what you doing with crowbar?
Well, I'm not barring cross on you, bum. Lend a hand.
The two rascals rolled an enormous stone closer and closer to the shaft.
And this rock falls down. D-O-U-N-E, down.
Meanwhile, Rocky and Bullwinkle were dropping deeper and deeper into the mine.
Sure got dark all of a sudden. Something must be blocking the sunlight.
Uh-oh, it sure is. Looky.
It's a great big rock coming down at us.
Again? Rocky, do you suppose we're accident-prone?
No time to worry about that. Let go of the rope.
But we'll fall.
Sure, our only chance is to stay ahead of that falling rock for as long as we can.
And as Bullwinkle let go of the lift cable, the platform dropped faster and faster. Above them, the huge stone plummeted down like a...
Like a stone?
Like a stone.
Are we gaining on it?
It's about even, Bullwinkle.
Good. Only one thing worries me.
What's that?
What happens when we get to the bottom of the shaft?
I hate to think, Bullwinkle.
We gotta figure out something, Rock. I don't want to wind up as a mess of moose butter.
At the top of the shaft, Boris was feeling very proud of himself.
Natasha, you ever have one of those days where everything is wrong?
Yes.
Isn't it wonderful?
But Boris, darling, Mr. Big is coming. You're not nervous?
Mr. Big, phooey. When that creepy joke gets here, Mount Flatten will be gone.
Gone? Gone where?
Gone with us. We hijack mountain.
Boris, you going to double-cross Mr. Big?
With moose and squirrel gone is easy. What kind schnook you take me for?
I give up, Badenov. What kind?
Boris, look there. That huge shadow on the rock.
No, Not that.
Yes, that. It's Mr. Big.
And meanwhile, our boys are just seconds away from complete disaster. Don't miss our next episode, Bullwinkle at the Bottom, or Mishmash Moose.
Well, it looks as if our time has just about run out.
Mine must be a little slow.
You got the credits, Bullwinkle?
All on this itty-bitty card. Oop!
We're late again, Bullwinkle.
Right!
Bye now. See you next time.
A thunder of jets in an open sky, a streak of gray, and a cheerful...
A loop, a whirl, and a vertical climb, and once again you'll know it's time for the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and friends.
Starring that supersonic speedster, Rocket J. Squirrel, with his pal Bullwinkle the Moose, and a host of others.
Hurry, Bullwinkle. The show's about to start.
I'm coming as fast as I can.
Wave to the people.
Yay!
Now what are you doing?
Sign an autograph. Let's see. John Smith.
But your name is Bullwinkle.
I know, but that's hard to spell.
We're gonna have a lot of fun. Come on and join us.
Sure, there's always room for one more.
You remember that last time we left Boris and Natasha confronted by the sinister shadow of Mr. Big himself, while Rocky and Bullwinkle were plummeting down a mine shaft followed closely by an enormous boulder. But our story really opens today in a quiet Washington office where Captain Peter Peachfuzz, head of G2, is speaking to his secretary.
Get me the file on Mount Flatten.
Yes, sir.
Wait! Aren't you forgetting, Miss Glum? Those are secret files. Close your eyes.
Then how can I see what file I'm getting?
Don't you use the touch system?
Well, I'll try. Let's see. It should be this drawer back about,
You're peeking.
Well, I'll just never find the information.
Then how do I know what's going on?
Don't you ever watch the Rocky show?
Say, there's an idea.
And the captain turned on a nearby set just in time to hear... You remember the last time we left Boris and Natasha confronted by the sinister shadow of Mr. Big himself, while Rocky and Bullwinkle are plummeting down a mine shaft followed closely by an enormous boulder. But our story really opens today in a quiet office in Washington where...
Oh, who cares? I've got to get out there.
And in just a moment, Captain Peachfuzz was in a fast plane and headed straight for the North Pole. Meanwhile, what about Rocky and Bullwinkle?
Yeah, what about us?
Bullwinkle, this is the longest mine shaft I ever fell down.
Yeah, we ought to be through the whole mountain by now.
Well, that mighty moose's intellect had done it again, for that mine shaft did go all the way through the mountain, and at that moment the platform shot out the underside of Mount Flatten and into thin air, followed, of course, by the huge boulder.
I'll try to swing us out from under it, Bullwinkle.
The plucky squirrel zoomed down from the platform, and then as it passed him, pushed it out from under the boulder. In another instant, the platform reached the end of the rope and dangled far beneath the floating mountain, while the huge boulder continued on clear to the ground, where it shattered into 16 tons of instant gravel.
We better get back up the rope, Bullwinkle.
if we rest here for just a minute?
But Mojave Max and Death Valley Dottie will be worried about us.
Well, that was true enough, for Max and Dottie, alias Boris and Natasha, were at that moment trying to explain things to that criminal mastermind, Mr. Big.
You are accusing me of double dealing? What kind schnook you take me for?
I give up bad enough. What kind?
Just fun-loving schnook, Mr. Big, sir, boss, old superior.
You are making joke?
Sure. You don't really think I double-cross my own dear commanding officer, leader, director, Pasha?
Yes.
Very droll.
Where are Moose and Squirrel?
By now they should be at bottom of mine shaft.
Oh, you miserable idiot. This is a floating mountain.
You mean?
Yes, the mine shafts go all the way through.
Sure enough, when Boris looked down the shaft, he saw our heroes dangling far below.
Oh, bad enough. You have goofed.
Only temporarily, Mr. Big.
And opening his coat, Boris began to hunt for his favorite mine shaft rope snippers. But even as Rocky and Bullwinkle started their long climb up the rope, they were faced with still another danger.
Bullwinkle, look there!
It's just an airplane, Rock. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, but it's headed right for us.
Now, that's something to worry about.
Well, there's danger above and danger below for our boys. Don't miss our next episode, Double Trouble or The Moose Hangs High.
And now it's time for...
Time for the dancing fool, Bullwinkle.
Again? And now for one of our special fairy tales.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs.
That's capital P-I-double-G-S.
Yes, of course. These 3 little pigs, Portland, Penelope, and Alice, were sisters who lived together in a cunning little house, or they did for a while anyway.
Is this the pig residence?
Capital P-I-double-G, pig?
That's it, lady.
Yes, it is.
Got a singing telegram for you. Put on the skillet, put on the lid. Your rich uncle just wound up dead.
What?
That ain't all, I tell you true. He left $1 million to you.
Oh, great.
And all the little piggies got moolah, moolah. All the little piggies got moolah now. Collect.
Yes, the pig sisters were now rich beyond their wildest dreams, and the first thing they decided to do was...
move out of this cunning little house.
So, in a very short time, as these things go, each of the 3 girls had built a mansion of her own. Portland's was of straw, Penelope's was of sticks, and Alice's of solid brick. Of course, the news of their fortune spread far and wide and finally reached the ears of one Henry Q. Wolfe. Now, there was just one thing that Henry Q. Wolfe wanted in life.
I want to live in a big mansion, and this looks just like my chance.
That was it. Of course, Henry would never think of getting a job and working to get rich.
Ooh, perish forbid.
So he planned to marry one of the pig sisters and get rich for free. Oh, he was a rascal.
True, oh, true.
So one day, Henry arrived at the door of Portland Pig.
Now, let's see. Method 1, the continental approach. Yes, I'll simply sweep her off her feet. Romance-wise, that is.
Yes, who is it?
Ah, Sacre Bleu.
What is it?
Your beauty is absolutely breathtaking.
Oh, really?
Ah, chérie, may I entrance?
Well, I...
Merci beaucoup. Oh, what a charming place you have here. Imported straw. Am I wrong? Am I right?
No. Wait a minute. Who are you?
Allow me to introduce myself, my little pork chop. Count Henry Q. Wolfe. My friends call me Hank. You can call me Hanky.
Well, it looked as if Portland would surely be his victim. He whispered sweet nothings in her ear.
Nothing, 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 and likewise nothing.
He recited poetry to her.
Roses are red, violets are blue. You've a cute little nose, and I do too.
He played the piano. He even showed a keen interest in good books.
Oh, this man has a soul.
Portland seemed most impressed, and Henry, felt that now was the time to pop the question.
Portland, my petite cochon, will you marry me and make me the rich, happiest man in the world?
Portland's answer came quickly.
No.
Oh, you play the hard to get. I ask you again.
No.
Would you like to think it over till tomorrow? I guess not.
But if you thought this dampened Henry's spirits, you'd be wrong.
Sure, there's still 2 sisters left, you know.
So Henry dashed right over to Penelope's house.
Let's see now, method 2, the caveman approach.
Yes, who is it?
Okay, beautiful, step aside. I'm coming in. Got the place done in early American stick, eh? Nice, I guess. But I'm gonna make a few changes around here, baby.
See here, what do you want?
Just you, that's all, honey bunch. I've made up my mind. You're gonna marry me, baby. How do you like them apples?
Obviously, she didn't like them apples. Now, Henry had only one chance left, and he hurried to Alice's house.
Method 3, the all-out approach. Oh, boy, this one's bound to work.
Yes, what do you...
I love you, I adore you, I worship you, I can't live without you.
Yes, but I...
Please say you'll marry me.
But...
Please.
Well, all right,
You said yes. Yes, you said yes. Oh, dear rich Alice, you've made me so wealthy, happy.
But I'm...
No time for buts, my pet. Come, let us fly together now.
Well, they were married immediately, and they set off for a whirlwind honeymoon at Niagara Falls.
Look, Alice, you see all the water?
Yes, but
That's enough. Let's go.
And away they went back home, for the wolf couldn't wait to start living in the big brick mansion.
This is the life, eh, Alice?
Will you listen to me, loudmouth? I'm not... Cassandra! Cassandra, would you come here, please? Coming, madam.
I thought your name was Alice.
That's what I've been trying to tell you. That's rich Alice Pig in there. I'm Cassandra, her poverty-stricken maid, you silly thing.
Well, mistakes will happen. I'm
also your wife, you worm. Get in here.
But Cassandra, ow, honey, ow.
Now, of course, every fairy tale must have a happy ending, so naturally, Henry did get to live in the big brick house surrounded by wealth, but not quite in the way that he'd thought.
Yes, sir. Whom shall I say is calling home? Whom?
And now, here's Bullwinkle's Corner.
Hello, poultry people. Today's gem is called The Barefoot Boy. Curtain. Blessings on thee, little man, barefoot boy with shoes of tan, with thy... Wait up now, you're supposed to be barefoot.
The stones hurt my toes.
Oh, come on now, rock.
Well, okay.
Once more from the top. Blessings on thee, little man, barefoot boy with cheek of tan, with thy rolled up pantaloons, and thy merry whistle tune.
Yikes!
That's a merry whistle tune?
No, that's a bear!
Well, you're just ruining the poem.
I can't help that. Here he comes, and he's wearing my shoes. Bye, Bullwinkle.
But how do I finish the poem?
Do it with him.
All right, I just will. So though you give my pal a scare, blessings on thee, boyfoot bear.
And now it's time...
Time for that jolly juggler, Bullwinkle.
Oh, dear.
3 at once. 1, 2...
And now here's a feature you're sure to like.
3...
While the great mass of Canadian people were living with a certain amount of tranquility in the upper lower northwest-east region of Canada, a devilish plan was being hatched by that arch-villain Snidely Whiplash.
A plan, Homer, that will give us complete freedom to do the nasty little things we do.
And they're nasty.
Well, I'm going to print a fake newspaper reporting that I, Snidely Whiplash, am Dudley Do-Right's younger brother.
Younger?
Well, of course, you wouldn't expect me to say I was his older brother, would you? And Dudley, being such a sentimental fool, we'll be able to do all the mischief we want to. That's the Canadian way.
In a short time, Whiplash had put his evil scheme to work.
There, that ought to do the trick.
So Homer, disguised as a newsboy, rode off to the RCMP camp to deliver the paper to Dudley.
Paper, mister?
I say, that was about the ugliest newsboy I've ever seen. I'll just catch a quick look before I give it to the inspector. Always like to see how Renfrew is making out. What? I can't believe it, but it's in the paper. It must be true. Snidely Whiplash found to be Dudley Do-Right's younger brother.
Dudley Do-Right, get in here.
Oh, yes, sir, Inspector, and have I got news. Wait till you hear this, Inspector.
Later, Dudley, what I want to talk to you about is a man so sneaky, deceitful, and downright rotten that it disgusts me to mention his name. You know who that man is, Do-Right?
Is it Sandy Simpson who runs that shady ice cream parlor? I saw him the other day, sir.
Of course it isn't Simpson. It's Snidely Whiplash.
You mean that clean-cut chap?
Are you feeling all right, Dudley?
Straightforward eyes, a firm chin, and just a hint of dimples around his cupid bow mouth?
That's enough, Dudley. I want you to bring that sneaky snake in, do you hear? And on the double.
The next day, Snidely was preparing to blow up the hotel when...
Baby brother!
Oh, hiya, Dudley.
Oh, you naughty boy. I don't know how to tell you this, but blowing up hotels isn't worthy of a do-right. You see, besides being your big brother, I'm also a Canadian Mountie. So you see, I have to take you to see Inspector Fenwick.
You did it, Dudley. You brought in that loathsome, repulsive, obnoxious...
Now, just a doggone minute there. Sir, I won't have you talking about my baby brother that way.
Your what?
Go on, kick him, beat him. Don't you realize that all his life he's been kicked and beaten emotionally? And it's all my fault.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
I'm quitting the force, Inspector, because I've learned blood is thicker than water.
So Dudley decided to give Snidely the one thing he'd been denied in his childhood, mother love. First, he dressed him in a Lord Fauntleroy suit.
Now we'll have to do something about this shack. There now, did you wash behind your ears? Let me see.
Come on now, Dudley, a joke's a joke.
All right, you can run out and play, but remember, I'll be watching you, and if I see you with that awful Homer boy, you'll have to stay indoors for a week. And no Winnie the Pooh.
Woo-wee.
Hey, Snidely.
You remember what happened the last time Dudley saw us together?
Yeah, you had to stay indoors for a week.
Yeah, and no Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, he's a regular Dr. Sprock.
I'd have been better off in a stockade. There must be a way out of this.
Whom are you talking to whom, baby brother?
Nobody, big brother Dudley. Listen, Homer, you've got to print a retraction. Say the whole thing was a mistake, that I'm not his brother after all. It's the only way out of this mess.
Okay, baby.
And don't call me baby brother.
Ah, the evening paper. Just see how Renfrew's getting along.
Aren't you going to read the front page, Dudley?
Oh, no, I've stopped reading the front page. Those headlines are too depressing.
Curses foiled again.
But realizing that the RCMP camp could no longer do without Dudley Do-Right, the inspector's daughter Nell went to see Dudley and try to bring him back.
Dudley Do-Right, the whole RCMP camp misses you. Why don't you come back?
How can I, Nell? I've got responsibilities, but you could do one thing for me.
What is that?
Give my horse these lumps of sugar. Here, I'll wrap them in this paper.
But as Dudley started to rap, he started to read.
Snidely Whiplash and Dudley Do-Right are not brothers. Then I've been the victim of a ghastly hoax. Ooh, that does rouse my ire.
His ire roused, he waited for Snidely.
Big brother Dudley.
And so, Inspector, it turned out Snidely Whiplash wasn't my brother after all.
Well, did you bring in Snidely Whiplash?
Not entirely, Inspector, but I did bring part of him.
What part?
His mustache.
Well, Homer, I lost a big brother, but I also lost most of my upper lip.
You look terrible, boss.
Yeah, but you know something?
What?
It was worth it.
Well, our boys have managed to get themselves into double trouble as they dangle from a rope below Mount Flatten, the floating mountain. Not only is a fast plane zooming right at them, but far above, Boris Badenov is preparing to cut the rope, watched closely by his shadowy superior, Mr. Big.
Why are you hesitating, Boris?
Just wondering whether to cut all at once or little by little.
Oh, little by little, to be sure. The fun lasts longer.
So Boris just lightly nicked the outside of the rope, then watched gleefully as the strands broke one by one.
Delightful, isn't it?
Oh, Mr. Big, You really know how to live.
But at the other end of the rope, our heroes had more immediate problems to worry about.
Hey, that plane's getting closer, Rock.
Hang on, Bullwinkle.
And the speeding jet roared by right underneath them.
Well, thank goodness that's over.
Not quite, Bullwinkle. He's turning.
Sure enough, the plane reversed itself and headed back for them upside down.
I wonder who's in that plane.
Search me, but it's somebody who don't know upside down from right side up.
That could only be one person I know of.
Captain Peach Fuzz.
But he's a close friend.
Too close if you ask me. He'll hit us next time.
Well, maybe I can stop him.
And Rocky launched himself through the air after the jet plane. As far above, the rope drew nearer and nearer to the breaking point. Slowly, the flying squirrel drew abreast of the roaring jet and soon saw the reason for its strange actions. The pilot was indeed Captain Peter Wrongway Peach Fuzz.
Golly, he's headed for Bullwinkle again.
Rocky, dear boy, why are you flying upside down?
I'm not upside down. You are.
Oh, well, give me a hand, Rocky.
With a final burst of speed, Rocky flew right into the pilot's compartment of the hurtling jet and took over the control of the plane just in time.
Boy, that was a near thing. But anyway, Bullwinkle is safe at last.
Well, even Rocky can be wrong, for at that moment, at the top of the mine shaft, the rope parted.
Delightful. Thank you for an enjoyable 3 minutes, Badinov.
Any time, bossman.
Down and down fell the miserable moose, still clinging to the now useless rope.
It's not much, but it's all I got.
But at that moment, Rocky's sharp eyes spotted his plummeting figure.
Bullwinkle!
And Rocky aimed the jet right at his pal. Downward it flashed faster and faster and finally caught up with the moose.
Bullwinkle, grab onto the tail!
Right, Rock.
Meanwhile, far above them, Boris was still basking in the approval of his superior.
Badinov, you're a no-good, double-crossing scoundrel.
Please, Mr. Big, you'll have me blushing in a minute.
And in recognition of your services, I'm going to give you a little something.
Boris, darling, Moose has been saved by Squirrel.
You interrupting, Natasha. Yes, Mr. Big. What were you going to give me?
I'm going to give you 5 minutes to get rid of that moose and squirrel, you bungler.
And the mysterious shadow disappeared from view.
Okay, Miss Big Mouth. How you know they've been saved?
Look down there.
But when Boris looked down the shaft, he seemed strangely delighted.
Look, Hannibal.
Sure enough, the jet plane was still roaring earthward, with Bullwinkle clinging to the tail.
Don't you think you ought to pull out now, Rock?
Bullwinkle, I am, but nothing's happening.
And Rocky tugged vainly on the plane steering column as the jet flashed lower and lower. Don't miss our next fun-filled episode.
Fun-filled?
Jet Jockey Rocky or the One-Point Landing.